Oh hey, do you propagate Hoyas? Are you thinking about it? Well, if so, there are 3 things I need to talk to you about. That's roots, rot, and mold. I'm Christine, and welcome to Botanical Woman. In this video, I will share with you my experience and tips on how I keep my Hoya cuttings healthy. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos like this in the future, please subscribe. Also, I'm excited to share with you that I recently started the Botanical Woman Instagram account, where I post daily updates on my plant collection. I look forward to talking plants with you on Insta. Now let's get into it. Moldy. Mold is a big concern on your Hoya cuttings. To make sure your cuttings stay healthy, it is important to disinfect the cutting right away when you find mold. Soaking the cutting in water with diluted hydrogen peroxide and/or a mix of Castile soap for 20 minutes will do the job. If the mold comes back, just repeat as necessary. After the soak, let it air out a bit, as too much moisture can also lead to rot. So why is there mold? Unfortunately, both Hoyas and bacterias tend to thrive in high humidity environment. I found that Hoyas that are grown outdoors, like these, are more likely to have mold developed with this propagation method, even though I soak all my cuttings with hydrogen peroxide before propagating. How do you remove mold from your cuttings? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Keeping the bag and perlite clean will also help as well. This can be accomplished by sterilizing them with diluted hydrogen peroxide. Oh no, rotted a lot. Rotted up here. Rot can be really detrimental to your cuttings. This cutting here is obviously suffering from rot. I recommend examining the cuttings thoroughly when you first receive them and cut away any rot. For this cutting, I will remove all the rot and save what I can. Examine your cuttings by gently squeezing the leaves and stem. Water might come out of it. You may notice it's brown, soft, kind of squishy and mushy. Like this one, it's completely limp. Also, rot is more prone to occurring where the cuts are, so pay close attention to these spots. But sometimes you can't tell, like with this one, where it appears fine because it didn't exhibit any of the traits I mentioned above. It's because it's a woodier Hoya, so it has a harder shell. But when you cut it, you can look into the stem and tell whether it's dead or alive. If it's all brown, then it's dead. If there's no white latex leaking out, then it's also probably dead. If it's a bit green, it's not completely dead, but it's not looking good. Don't worry though, there's still hope. There are a few things we can do to prevent rot from occurring. Be sure to sterilize your scissors. I like to use fire, but you can use alcohol or hydrogen peroxide. Unsterilized scissors may spread rot or bacteria. Good airflow is also important. I recommend letting fresh air in every 3 days, as this also ensures that some moisture is released from the bag, as too much can promote rot and mold. Opening the bag refreshes the air and allows you to get a good sense of how they're doing. After 2 weeks, everything should stabilize, and you can check in less frequently. Once a week is probably great. Side note, I don't recommend playing with or disturbing your Hoyas too much, as I did notice some of the roots died after the making of this video. I would examine them and promptly place them back in the bag. You don't want all that hard work the plant put into developing to wither away. With each cutting, you'll get different results, which is totally normal. Some Hoyas are super resilient, like this cutting, which spent 2 weeks in a shipping box before I received it. It's now been propagating in its bag for about 3 weeks, and look at all the roots it's developed. Plants are programmed to survive. This one I got from Beautifolia on Etsy hit the ground running, and look at all the roots it's developed in just a matter of days. It's a super healthy cutting. I find Hoyas that have more compact growth root really well, like this viney one, where the node intervals are closer together. Having roots growing all over the stem, like this one, is a perfect example of a healthy cutting. These Hoyas are all ready for pot life. If you want to learn how to cut your Hoyas to optimize their growth when propagating, be sure to subscribe, as I'm going to make a video on this in the near future. What happens when you put a bunch of really happy Hoya cuttings together in a bag? You get a cuddle party! Epiphytes have roots that grab onto things. In nature, they're grabbing onto trees, but in the bag, they're mostly just end up grabbing each other, which can be a problem. Soaking them a bit can soften up the roots, so they are easier to detach. You will need to be gentle and patient to untangle and separate them. Don't worry if you end up breaking a few roots. It's going to be okay. This is really amazing that all these roots have developed within 3 weeks, but it's not always like this. It's totally normal for some Hoyas to root slower than others. Here are a few examples. These Hoyas are from the same batch as the Hoyas you saw previously. There's no need to panic though. You didn't do anything wrong. Each Hoya just grows at its own pace, which is completely normal. I have a tendency to blame myself, but it's going to be okay. This is everything that I've encountered during my Hoya check-ins so far. If you have any additional tips or questions, please leave them in the comment below. I would love to hear from you. Until next time, happy growing.